which is again the revelation that America is led by a theocracy as well, but instead of 88 clerics coming together and figuring out who the fucking next imam is going to be that leads the American theocracy, it's actually the Israeli Knesset, backed by the Israeli population's popular support for this endless destruction campaign in Iran. Let's be fucking real. America, in some ways, is also led by clerics. Maybe not Shia clerics, but instead, this time, rabbis and the Knesset and, secular Israelis. It's a different kind of theocratic approach. Evangelical Zionists as well. But that's what's going on here. President Trump is considering taking over the Strait of Hormuz, according to CBS, which is, again, going against the whole mission accomplished narrative that they were talking about initially. Here's John Hudson, also confused by this reporting. Wei Zhejiang from CBS News says, in a phone interview, President Trump told me the war would be over soon. I think the war is very complete, pretty much. They have no Navy, no communications. They got no Air Force. He added that the U.S. is very far ahead of its initial 4 to 5 week estimated time frame. Asked about Iran's supreme leader, Moshtaba Khamenei, who Trump has openly criticized, he said, I have no message for him, none whatsoever. Trump said he has someone in mind to replace Khamenei, but did not elaborate. As for the Strait of Hormuz, Trump noted the ships are moving through now, but he is thinking about taking it over. Trump warned Iran, they've shot everything they have to shoot, and they better not try anything cute, or it's going to be the end of that country. John Hudson, confused by this at Washington Post, says, so which is it? This is just the beginning of the U.S. war in Iran? Hegseth told 60 Minutes on Friday. The war in Iran is very complete, pretty much, Trump tells NBC News today, or CBS News today. So which is it? Is it very much over, or is it just beginning? Let's be real. You got to go to the real boss man if you want to understand where this is going to go. And the real boss man is Israel. It's over when Benjamin Netanyahu says it. It began when Benjamin Netanyahu said it must begin, and it will be over when Benjamin Netanyahu says it's over. Apparently, Pootie Poo, Adolf Putler, and Donald Trump also had a conversation. Russian President Vladimir Putin held a phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday and shared his proposals aimed at a quick settlement to the Iran war. Kremlin foreign policy aide Yuri Ushakov told the reporters the leaders also discussed the Ukrainian conflict and the situation of Venezuela in context of the global oil market situation. Yeah. Department of War rapid response. We have only just begun the fight. And then right after that, Trump is like, actually, we're done. It's over. Mission accomplished. Now, of course, if you want to understand what's really going on, obviously the mission is not fucking accomplished at all, because what is the mission? For the Americans, if the mission itself is supposed to be, if the American mission is supposed to be complete regime change, and the Israeli mission is complete destruction of Iranian society and trying to instigate some kind of like ethnic war in the country with no real regime change in mind. Neither of those goals are being accomplished right now. If the goal is to stop Iranian missiles from striking Tel Aviv, if the goal is to stop Iranian missiles from striking American bases in the region, they haven't accomplished those goals either. So what is the fucking actual goal here? All of this is indicative of chaos on the American and Israeli side. They have different goals that are actually competing with one another. We don't know who will win out in this process, because if Donald Trump turns around and says, all right, Bibi, you're cut, you're done, shut the fuck up, then they can actually manage some kind of retreat, some kind of strategic retreat. The Americans can, which will allow Iran to accomplish its goals of overcoming this destabilizing bombing campaign. And depending on how successful they've been, they might even actually cause the Gulf states to demand American retreat from their nation states, which again seems like the maximalist goals for Iran. As a Persian, this is so sad. I wish U.S. and Israel actually wanted to help the country. They've never wanted to help the country. They will never want to help the country. Let's be real. That was never going to happen. That was exactly what I was stressing over and over again, explaining to people that did not want to hear what I had to say, that was never the goal. This was the goal. Israel's goal is complete fucking destabilization. America's goal is like some kind of regime change so that they can get better oil contracts out of Iran, like a pliant state that can still oppress the citizens. If they don't give a shit about that, obviously. They just care about having a more pliant state in Iran that they can loot and they can pillage the natural resources of with ease. Is the Strait still closed? Yes, the Strait is still closed. There is some reporting that the oil tankers and some of the tankers are passing through while turning off their transponders, but not exactly sure as to how successful that is because the markets are still reacting very negatively, except the markets have reacted very positively to Trump basically saying mission accomplished. As a matter of fact, we're retreating. One of the first signs that W's Iraq war was going to go even worse than thought was when Bush's neocon fools completely alienated Turkey through sheer reckless arrogance. Turkey refused to let the U.S. invade from the north. Erdogan ascended. Relations have never been the same. Yeah, Erdogan also came out and said, no one should make miscalculations. No one should fall into the trap of the Zionist massacre network that seeks to pit brother against brother. We welcome the statements made by our brothers in the Iraqi Kurdish region and sincerely believe that they will not fall for this game. Here he is referencing a lot of the Kurdish political parties in Iraq, straight up saying they are not going to play a role in the invasion of Iran. Uri Goldberg in Israel said, just had the most intense 2 hours of bombardment here since Israel began its criminal war in Iran. This is an anti-Zionist a Jew living in Israel, for the record. Uri Goldberg is very, very against the Israeli state. Israeli citizens receive the full demonstration of how dazed and confused our civil defense is. And I live in a well-to-do area. Just as Israel thrives on denying the humanity of its victims in Palestine, Iran, and Lebanon, so do Israelis thrive on complete and utter disassociation from their own lives, on murderous solipsism. This works exactly until the second it stops working. Then it comes tumbling down like a house of cards. The reason why I'm bringing this up, Ori being an anti-Zionist living in Israel, is because I think his assessment is not indicative of the broader public's assessment here. I will admit. He's basically saying that he's hopeful that Israeli society broadly, once they actually do receive some kind of pushback and punishment for its endless bloodshed, will very quickly turn around and say, oh, you can't protect us at all. Maybe we need to chart a different path, one that actually revolves around diplomacy instead of complete death and destruction, and hoping that like America will always protect us. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what his assessment is. It's a very hopeful assessment. I don't know if it's real or not. A second Iranian missile strike on Israel in the last hour. Trump tells CBS war is very complete, but this is what happened. Yeah, IRGC says the SATCOM station that Hezbollah destroyed was one of the main comm centers connecting air bases with the fighter jets, by the way. I don't know what this video is supposed to show, but compilation from Hebrew Twitter. Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen this, but I don't think this is indicative of like broader Israeli society is what I mean. I tried to listen to Netanyahu today, an impossible task. A few minutes and I broke. The man adopted the speaking style of Trump, a dictator in the making, full of helium, arrogance, hubris, and detachment from reality. Suddenly the pilots are wonderful. Everyone is determined. Everything is fine. War poisoning, all the way to clemency. Not on the sidelines. It's pretty amazing that no one from the government is really talking to us about the war. Not that there are any expectations at all, right? But they're pissing on us in an arc. The reasons, in my opinion, one, they don't give a damn about us. It's a bit hard to explain the goals of the fighting when they're political, and saying explicit defined goals would make them look like clowns because it's unlikely they'll meet them. So this is our life now, trying to juggle routine while flying missiles over our heads. Missiles fly over our heads, going out into the sun between one siren and the next, going to work when we can we can and take time off on our dime when we can't, sometimes crying and sometimes not. Is that it? The saddest thing about this whole story is the absolute certainty that it's all for nothing. Netanyahu, despite his desire to be remembered as Churchill, was and remains a complete zero who hasn't finished a single job once and has appointed a collection of zeros around him and has been holding this country hostage for 6 years. Answers we have not, like, these are the liberal Zionists. Okay? Like, these are some of the liberal Zionists, like some of the oppositional figures that are maybe a little bit on shaky ground in terms of their unlimited support for Benjamin Netanyahu, now that there is like some consequences that like broader Israeli society is receiving from this endless bombing campaigns. And that's important to understand. Okay, obviously they have no sympathy for Iran at all. They have no sympathy for Palestinians at all, but they are feeling the pain of the actions that the government is taking for once. It's not dissimilar to how like Americans are selfish, fat hogs, but they see the price of the gas pump and they go, wait a minute, why the fuck are we doing this? It's not dissimilar to that. Okay? This is why this is what the goals of the Iranian bombing campaigns are, for the record. It is to accomplish exactly this, to destroy the veneer of protection that Israeli society relies on, the Israeli government relies on, in an effort to say, yeah, we can bomb everyone we want to, and you will never receive the consequences of said death and destruction campaign, because America will always back us up. But now that America is incapable of backing Israel up, because Israel is incapable of defending itself in the same ways that it always was able to, even in the 12-day war, where there was like, bombing campaigns that took place. But overall, there was a level of protection. If you went into a shelter, you were fine. Now that interceptors are no longer as capable, now that the eyes and ears around the region have been destroyed by the Iranian bombing campaigns, all of a sudden it's not so easy to engage in the interceptions with the arrow system, with the, obviously, like the Tamir interceptors are not supposed to take out ballistic munitions anyway, like, coming from the Iranian side. But basically, that paired up with Hezbollah's bombing campaigns as well, like taking out fucking SATCOM facilities, radar facilities, things of that nature, all of a sudden it's like infinitely more difficult. Especially considering that Israel is one of the most heavily guarded airspaces on the planet, okay? You got like Moscow on the one hand, and you got Israel, specifically Tel Aviv, on the other. If you have one of the best defended airspaces on the planet receiving blow after blow from Iranian missiles, all of a sudden the calculation changes quite a bit. Yeah, it's more guarded than the East Coast of the U.S. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it this way. We didn't have enough THAAD interceptors. We didn't have enough THAADs that we had to literally go to South Korea and demand and beg them to send some of their THAAD anti-missile defenses to Bahrain and to UAE and to other places in the region. It's unheard of. I mean, this is a massive, massive fucking L for American force projection capabilities. We're told the whole world, and I kept stressing this over and over again, we told the whole world that we are completely incapable of going up against a country that has the economy the size of a fucking American state, okay? We are so incapable of defending our bases and our own assets that cost billions of dollars to fucking make, the assets that actually also play a role in the protective network against defending our most significant asset, Israel, that we told the world, like, no, we can't do this. We don't have the fucking defensive capabilities to go against Iran. Having said that, however, the reason why I'm saying like this kind of attitude is not exactly demonstrated in the polls, if you look at the support for the Iran war, and this is really funny, I love seeing like liberals like Ian Bremmer basically fucking posting like I have been for years now. He's showing support for the Iran war amongst Americans, 36% approve, 54% disapprove. Amongst Israelis, 82% approve, 13% disapprove. Bro, that's not true. Iran has the economy of a state because its currency is useless and it cannot export goods and services. Exactly. That's my point. My point is Iran would have a blossoming and beautiful economy that's massive, except we are so powerful that we've been able to, through financial engineering, destroy their economy and reduce the size of a fucking American state. It doesn't matter. That's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that we have that level of capability of diminishing the Iranian economy, and yet we still cannot destroy them militarily. Another moment where someone says bad take and then repeats and reiterates the take I make. Okay? So, and now we are retreating. It appears that the U.S. base is evacuating its Air Force tankers from a Saudi Arabia base. These tankers have been supporting bombing operations in Iran, and now they've been evacuated to Europe out of the Prince Sultan Air Base. Americana says, we're retreating. We made the largest American strategic retreat in decades before the war even started, and now we're retreating further. Objectively, the war is not going well. This is in direct response to the Iranian ballistic missile attack on Prince Sultan Air Base last night. I'm inclined to take this as a signal that the air defenses at Prince Sultan are reaching exhaustion. This is roughly the timeline I would expect for that. Like, it's nutty. It's actually fucking crazy that these guys from the start were like, oh, dude, our dicks are so hard. Our military is so wonderful. We're fucking destroying Iran. We're going to come out of this victors. Bahrain prosecutors seeking death penalties for people who photograph missile hits. Yeah, I know. Ocean account saying new parts and bombing equipment's coming. That's why those planes are going back. I don't know. I don't think you guys understand the domestic concerns within Arab Gulf states and the very new concerns in terms of like Israel dominating the fucking region. There is a reason why I did not believe the reporting that the Saudi government was actively petitioning America to bomb Iran. The reason why I did not believe that reporting was because out of all the Gulf states, there's only one country. There's only one fucking country that was on board with this, most likely, and even they are outwardly communicating that they're no longer on board with this, and that's the UAE. Okay, the UAE is tied to Israel at this point, or was tied to Israel at this point, and even their public correspondence so far has been enough is enough. You got to fucking cut it out. Because for these guys, what they're saying, what they're seeing is America completely incapable of defending them, and maybe not even capable of defending Israel, even though Israel is the primary concern for America. That is very clear. More. Reuters. President Donald Trump's administration is considering reducing oil sanctions on Russia to... Oh my God. Oh my God. How can you see this as anything but a fucking spectacular L for American foreign policy ambitions, American force projection around the globe? It's over. I mean, it's not fully over, obviously, but this is why I said empire doesn't die quietly, but you can kind of see it, right? You have to notice it, right? You have to recognize that this is very different. This is very different from the heyday. Even then, there were a lot of problems in the global war on terror, especially initially, but like nothing like this. This is complete defeat. Total defeat, and Moscow can just say no and sell at higher prices to China and India. Why would they want this without complete victory in Ukraine? I mean, I think Moscow will be open to talks with Europe now. President Donald Trump's administration is considering reducing oil sanctions on Russia to help cool a surge in global energy prices triggered by the U.S. and Israeli war on Iran, with an announcement possible as soon as Monday, according to 3 sources familiar with the planning. The move would be intended to boost world supplies of oil amid massive disruptions to Middle East shipments from the expanding conflict, but could also complicate the U.S. efforts to deprive Russia of its revenue for the war in Ukraine. The discussions could include broad sanctions relief, as well as more targeted options that would allow certain countries such as India to buy Russian oil without fear of U.S. penalties, including tariffs, the source told Reuters. Speaking on condition of anonymity, the United States last week allowed India to temporarily purchase Russian crude oil already on tankers at sea to help it cope with the cuts to Middle East supply. On the one hand, you got Ukraine sending its fucking forces to help with to help develop drone defenses for the Gulf states. On the other hand, America is literally telling Russia, like, you're probably going to be able to fucking annex. Like, we're going to offer legal recognition to the annexed territories. And, you know, you can help Europe in the interim because there is a major energy crisis that we designed. It's ironic because I said this after October 7, if you remember, to all the fucking like pro-Ukraine and pro-American, like pro-NATO, pro-Israel Andes. I was like, listen up, guys. Our attention is going to be needed elsewhere. We don't have infinite supply. We certainly didn't have infinite supply to fucking defend Ukraine anyway. That much was clear. But we certainly have our diminishing supplies that are going to focus on defending Israel. Not even necessarily defending Israel, but engaging in offensive capabilities and helping Israel's offensive capabilities. And our attention was going to shift to Israel. It did. And now we're here. The new moves could be announced as soon as Monday, the sources said. President Trump and his entire energy team have had a strong game plan to keep the energy market stable well before Operation Epic Fury began. And they will continue to review all credible options, said Taylor Rogers, a White House spokesperson, using the administration's term for the war. Any policy announcement will come directly from the president or his team, Rogers said. It's so crazy, the utter vindication that anti-imperialists have had in like the last week or the last couple of years at this point. It's spectacular L after spectacular L for the United States of America and all of its endless bloody endeavors around the world, trying to maintain this fucking wide empire that spans across nations, that is everywhere all at once, and how much our force projection capabilities have diminished. And yet people are still trying to fucking desperately cope with this reality by being like, but our weapons are so cool. It doesn't fucking matter if you have the best weapons, okay? It doesn't matter, clearly. And I'm not saying this to fucking gloat. I'm not saying this to flex on all the dumb motherfuckers that believed over and over again that, like, America has this capability. America will be the domineering force in perpetuity. I'm saying this so that you understand what the initial implicit biases that you had baked into your fucking collective consciousness about American might, American chauvinism, Western chauvinism in general, that caused you to make this wrong calculation, to make this wrong assessment. Okay? Tech superiority is utterly meaningless, as the Millennium Incident showed all the way back in fucking 2002, when you got an enemy that can cheaply destroy your naval assets. And back then, obviously, there was tremendous technological limitations for Iran in comparison to what they have at their disposal now, like the Shahed drones that they've developed. Like, the American imperialism is filled. The history of American empire is filled with L after L of this sort. People just waiting out the conquerors and making it as making the penalties as costly as possible with their limited capabilities. You just don't want America to be a strong hegemonic power. In parentheses, I live with my mom. Of course I don't want America to be a strong hegemonic power. Yes, American hegemony, according to the Lancet study that just came out, has led to 38 million deaths, okay? 38 million deaths just on fucking sanctions alone. That is the death toll of American empire, or at least some of the death toll of American empire. Why the fuck would I want that? Yes, I want to have diplomacy. I want other countries to also fucking thrive. I don't want to dominate other countries. Why the fuck would I be in support of American hegemony when American hegemony is good for people like us because we're not under the boot, even though, you know, you're not even seeing the returns, right? You're not like the return of American empire, and the bounties don't even redistribute to the American public regardless. But even then, we're in a better position overall in the first world than the third world that we fucking dominate by virtue of not being under the boot, right? Having said that, I want other countries to also obviously I want other countries to also obviously thrive and survive and have sovereignty and dignity. So yes. Yes, I know that chatter is making a joke. I'm just jumping off that because it's a commonly shared perspective by many fucking NATO Atlanticists. And I'm trying to explain to that commonly shared perspective. I know the chatter is joking, chatters. I know the chatter is joking, but that's a commonly shared position. So I'm responding to not the chatter's joke necessarily, but that commonly held position by, American regime enjoyers and defenders, American imperialism defenders, American chauvinists. I don't buy the war ending, to be honest. I think the IRGC sees the writing on the wall, and if this happens, I'll be devastated. I will never be able to go back to Iran with the IR after this with extreme repression. It's so fucking sad. You never know. You never know how things might pan out, chatter. You never know. Is the soundboard gone? I've been missing the fa. No, it's not gone. And people want the front-facing camera here. Here you go. We can do front-facing camera if you want. It is a better camera overall, I know, but anyway. What's stopping America from coming back a few months after? Well, because this is too devastating. What do you mean stock? Stock on what? Stock on what? If they are incapable, if the last 9 days have shown that America is, alongside Israel, is incapable of deteriorating Iranian launch capabilities, and that Iran can just like close the fucking Strait of Hormuz like they have, and create a global catastrophe in the energy markets, then why the fuck would they, like, what new weapons can they use? I think Donald Trump has basically exhausted all options in the escalation ladder beneath the nukes, okay? The final option here is nuclear launches. That's what I think. That's what I was worried about. Luckily, I don't want to say anything, but it seems like they're not going to try it. Hopefully, they will retreat instead of trying that. Oh, well, there's boots on the ground as well, but that's true. There's also that before the nukes, there's boots on the ground too. Michael from PA says markets are delusional and disconnected. The market seeing Trump's taco, Trump always chickens out, is unironically an asset to his government. They give his incoherent ramblings huge momentum in the markets. Right now, the oil prices are dropping rapidly after off-the-cuff remarks from Trump about the war ending. This is totally disconnected from reality. Tankers are not transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Oil producers in the Gulf are capping production wells, and refinery capacity are directly under attack and threat. Oil disruptions are going to happen. Markets are delusional. Israel has escalation dominance. Iran has attrition dominance. There's no escalation beyond killing the leader. We are now in a war of attrition. Yeah, well, there's also still the nuclear option. Not only for America, but for Israel as well. So, let's hear what Israel has to say.
The top does not change the regime. It is the same ideology, the same nuclear ambitions, the same ballistic missiles, the same terror proxies. For us, nothing changed. My advice to Tehran's new leadership: look at what happened to those who thought they could threaten the US and Israel. Israel remains committed to the objectives of this joint operation: to dismantle the regime's nuclear ballistic missile capabilities and weaken the machinery that allow it to threaten the region and oppress its own people. We hope that soon the people of Iran will have the opportunity to rise up and share their own future.
Let's begin this morning with the latest U.S. and Israeli air attacks on Iran, including devastating strikes on the country's oil facilities. The damage is staggering, with streets on fire from ruptured pipelines. Iran is fighting back, firing missiles at Israel and hitting Persian Gulf nations as well. Tehran has confirmed that the son of the top Ayatollah killed when the war began will be Iran's new supreme leader. U.S. officials now say a seventh American has died from the Iranian attacks. Chief correspondent Matt Gutman is at the site of a recent missile strike on a town south of Tel Aviv.
It's a medical incident. It's a medical incident.
Difficult to block
Stop.
Those cluster munitions fired.
Stop. It's just a medical incident, okay? I'm sick and tired of the lies that's being told by the media, making it seem like it's not a medical incident. COVID death.
Iranian missiles. One of those little bomblets hit here, obviously detonating that car, punching through the concrete, and just spraying shrapnel everywhere. But all eyes are on Iran this morning and the selection of Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the former supreme leader. We don't know much about him except he's very close to the regime, and that this is a clear signal from the regime of defiance.
Overnight, thousands marching through the streets of Tehran to celebrate the appointment of Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the former leader, a hardliner with close ties to the security services. Israel with a blunt warning.
The highest risk job right now is to be the new Ayatollah. That's a high-risk job.
They're going to be targeted.
Don't take those jobs. We're watching you.
Over the weekend, Israel, for the first time, targeting Iran's critical infrastructure. Massive fireballs lit the city with an eerie orange glow. The Red Crescent says over 1,300 have been killed. And in the streets, rivers of fire as oil leaked into Iran's sewage system and ignited. We asked the head of Israel's opposition party why they're targeting energy infrastructure.
Yeah, Israeli opposition is so funny. There is no real opposition. Okay, this dipshit is also 100% in support of every other escalation that Israel is engaged in, whether it be bombing Lebanon, whether it be bombing Syria, whether it be bombing Iran. He is always on board. There is no real opposition in Israel. This is what I'm trying to say. There's no opposition in the democratic wishes of society as well. So the idea that like, oh, Israel is this wonderful moral democracy, it's like, no, they're democratically doing genocide and they are democratically demanding that Iran get fucking pummeled. So fuck their democracy, okay? I don't give a shit.
This is where the money is coming from, and therefore if this will be gone, their ability to do this is going to be reduced significantly.
In response, Iran firing swarms of drones. This oil refinery in Bahrain targeted. Kuwait's social security building turned into a tower of flames. Even Dubai's airport hit.
Oh my God.
Iran now also changing tactics, turning to cluster munitions, several hitting Tel Aviv.
You can see where one of those submunitions just punched right through the concrete here, and it detonated, firing shrapnel and concrete in every direction.
5 people were wounded. And Israel's bomb squad showing us one of those downed missiles.
What you are seeing here, this is just the fuel tank of one of those giant Iranian missiles, and it's about half as long as the missile would be. It would be about 50 feet long. At the very end would be the warhead. That warhead increasingly has been containing these. These are cluster munitions, and they mount about 80 of these on a single warhead.
In Lebanon, Iran's main proxy.
Damn. I can't believe it. Unbelievable. You mean to tell me they're using you're using warheads like this? Good thing Israel has never done so, or refused to sign a treaty, an international treaty alongside the United States of America to not deploy cluster munitions, because that would be really crazy if they had actively petitioned against that sort of thing and continuously used not only cluster warheads, but also chemical weapons as well, like white phosphorus and things of that nature on a civilian population that they were dominating for the past 3 fucking years. They conducted a genocide. Oh, wait, they did do that, which is why everything that they fucking complain about is ridiculous. Literally everything that they're complaining about. This is why, like, when people are like, well, Hasan, don't you think like all civilians' lives are worthy? I do, but the Israeli government doing propaganda of this like is a woe is me moment. Okay, sorry, this is precisely what they've been fucking doing to everyone in the region. And the first time that they like receive a modicum of pushback, like a fraction of the death and destruction that they have dealt all around the region, hopefully this will be, this will allow people to understand like what Israel's been doing. They've been killing so many more people with these weapons too, because the people that they're killing are under Israeli occupation to begin with, or people that they're killing are like paramilitary groups that are able to mount a response but don't have any sort of air defenses. Like Lebanon has purposely been kept from having air defenses, because if the Lebanese government was truly a sovereign state and not like a vassal state for Western imperialism as well, then they would have anti-aircraft defense systems. They don't, because those anti-aircraft defense systems would be used against Israeli fighter jets. That is the reason, right?
The region, Hezbollah has stepped up rocket and drone fire at Israel, most intercepted. In response, Israel taking out building after building and ordering hundreds of thousands of residents of Beirut to flee. Several hundred have been killed there.
Iran has begun conserving its missiles and drones and says it has enough of them to last for 6 months of war. Now, U.S. and Israeli officials here have said that they are not interested in a forever war, but what has become clear is that this is not going to be a short war either. Adriana.
Matt Gutman outside Tel Aviv, thank you so much.
Let's get some more analysis now with Jeffrey Sachs, a public policy analyst.
My goat. Another unlimited vindicated, maximum vindication for Jeffrey Sachs, maximum vindication for Mersheimer. Let's be real. And it's not like I completely align with Mersheimer, but it doesn't matter. Fucking full-blown vindication for these guys, okay? And I'm seeing it in the algo too. Like anytime Jeffrey Sachs speaks about these matters, like I listen to him talk for like 40 minutes. On some random fucking, analyst show. That shit had like 500,000 fucking views in a day. People are waking up. They're like, wait a minute, we're seeking alternatives here, because everything that the mainstream media has been telling us has been full of nonsense. It's been complete fucking nonsensical bullshit. They keep saying, oh, Iran is retreating. Iran's stockpiles are diminished. And then Iran keeps pummeling Israel. Iran keeps pummeling the Gulf states and the American bases and American assets in the Gulf states. How is that possible? Okay. And then people inevitably seek out other analysts and people that were previously regarded as like cranks or whatever. There's obviously some, bad examples of this as well, but I am fully in support of Mersheimer, just like I was in support of Finkelstein getting his fucking roses. I'm fully in support of Mersheimer also getting his moment in the spotlight now alongside Jeffrey Sachs. Remember, these are people that were yelled at over and over again during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. These were people that were cast as outsiders, okay? These were people that were yelled at, cast as outsiders. Oh, you're fucking pro Vladimir Putin. You love Adolf Hitler, all this shit. Over and over again. Well, it turns out they weren't wrong. They were fucking right. No other nation comes even close. Every nation that you have been taught to hate, every leader you have demonized, every government that you call a regime, none come close to these numbers. North Americans will hear this and still believe that they're the good guys, irredeemable plays. Yeah, he's referencing the new Lancet study that came out that shows that the United States of America is responsible for, on average, 400,000 to 1 million deaths a year by their sanctions alone. By the way, both disagree on China. Yeah, I mean, that's why, look, I don't have, he's a super anti-China. Mersheimer was. Okay? But my point is, and also Jeffrey Sachs literally played a role in stripping the assets of the USSR. So like, we have differences in opinion. And obviously Jeffrey Sachs has been incredibly damaging as well. Like Mersheimer's attitude, Jeffrey Sachs' attitude is closer to mine, at least his current attitude, which is multipolarity. If it is a real multipolarity, doesn't actually necessarily yield great damage to America, or American citizens. It's actually much more positive for American citizens in general. And it's like in the multipolar world design follows along the vision of FDR and what it was supposed to look like after World War II. These four great powers, China, Russia, the United States of America, and at the time, he thought England, right? Were supposed to be four great powers that actually did not compete with one another, but engaged in diplomacy with one another in order to avoid conflict. That was the whole basis of the fucking UN. France came as a hanger-on afterwards, and England is obviously gone. I'm just talking about a bygone era when, like, that was the overall ambition of the, like, allied forces coming together and not piecing up the rest of the land, but instead allied forces coming together and creating a new design that was, in theory, supposed to be much more peaceful for the rest of the world. Obviously, that changed after FDR died. America's ambitions were totally different after World War II, and we immediately started force projecting and going and waging Cold War with Russia, the USSR. But yeah, the good neighbor policy from FDR from 1933 onward is a direct response to the Truman Doctrine, which meant that we could invade whatever country we wanted to invade, whatever country, which is Donroe Doctrine, like closer to Donroe Doctrine. This doesn't include the 4.7 million people killed in the global war on terror, the 9 million people who starved to death every year, the 5 million who die from curable disease, or the tens of millions killed in leftist purges that U.S. allies have done since 1949. Exactly. The numbers that Mersheimer is reflecting on here is incomplete. It's just purely a consequence of sanctions, because the American imperialist machine has so many tools at its disposal for dealing death and destruction all around the globe. Sanctions are just one aspect of this.
To 2021, and it asked what were the consequences. 71 to 2021, and it asked what were the consequences of those sanctions, and we murdered 38 million people. 38 million people. The amount of havoc we have wrought on the Middle East in recent years is just stunning. If you think about the consequences of the Iraq War, what we do in places like Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, you understand we're using this tremendous economic leverage we have to basically starve people, to make them suffer, to inflict great punishment on them, so that they'll rise up against their government. You understand that this is what we're doing in Venezuela. This is what we're doing in Iran. We're inflicting massive punishment on these people. Given all that, I find it very difficult to talk about the United States as a noble country.
It's not. Our ambitions have always been the same, and they will continue to be the same, which is death dealing around the world at the behest of capital, okay? It's not even for you. You do benefit living in the imperial core by not being under the boot, but it's not even beneficial for you. It's beneficial for lifeless, faceless, international capital, okay? Back, just listen to the Vanguard gossip about Hasan. What the fuck are they saying about me? Who is this? This is Mersheimer. He's a well-respected professor who believes in realpolitik in terms of international relations. Quinnipiac, did they release a new poll thinking about the relationship between U.S. and Israel? Do you think the U.S. is too supportive of Israel, not supportive enough of Israel, or is the U.S. supportive of Israel just about right? 44% say too supportive, 44% say about right, 6% say don't know, not applicable, and 5% say not enough. Ridiculous. We got to get those numbers up. This shows me that Americans are still in a cattle state. I mean, compare that to 2023, and it's like spectacular defeat for the Israel lobby and all of its propaganda apparatus. But again, by the way, too supportive. 17% of Republicans say too supportive. Like, God, Republicans are disgusting. I swear to God. "22% of Democrats and 38% of independents say about right. Cattle." Anyway. Yeah, I mean, you got to take victories wherever you can, because that number has greatly shifted in the direction of the truth, which is that America has unconditional loyalty and support to the state of Israel, and Israel is a nation led by fucking psychopaths. Okay? Trump said early that he doesn't think one is needed yet, that he doesn't rule the idea of a draft. What's about that, you think? I mean, that would be devastating as well. Any follow-up questions about what they think the current levels of support are? If you don't think Israel is supported about right, then about right means something different. Yeah. At the end of the day, Mersheimer is still a might is right guy. He just thinks the U.S. should work together with the rest of the world to counter China later on. Law. I mean, I don't know. Maybe his attitude will shift, considering that he's openly saying that America is the great evil power. It's not a moral nation at all here.
And former senior advisor to the United Nations, Professor Sachs. Really good to have you back. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us again.
My pleasure.
Well, Wang Yi saying, of course, that the international stage in the 21st century should no longer see the replay of what he called old scripts from the 19th century. I mean, with the Iran conflict widening every day, there are seriously concerning echoes, are there not, from the past reverberating today?
What the foreign minister put forward is very mature and very sincere and very important, but it is not the United States situation. The U.S. is militaristic, imperialistic, and fighting wars of choice across the Americas and the Middle East. And it is extremely dangerous what is happening. The U.S. is not listening to talk about cooperation. It is looking for conquest. And it is looking for conquest in Iran, which would be a devastating reality if that came about, because it would mean crushing a civilization that is ancient, that is proud, and that has 100 million people in it, and that is a crucial point geographically in the world, a pivot in the world. So the foreign minister's remarks are very mature. They would lead to world peace, but the United States is acting in a blatantly imperialistic and expansionist way.
And you say the United States is not listening, but Wang Yi said that China and the US cannot change each other, but they can change the way that they interact. I mean, how could that be possible now? How do they do that?
I think the grim reality for China is the United States is out to conquer much of the world. This is a fact. Donald Trump says so. The U.S. is aiming to overthrow the government of Cuba. The U.S. is militarizing the Americas. The U.S. is out for hegemonic control of the Middle East. This is a very grim reality. We've not seen anything so blatant in imperialism since World War II. What the United States is doing is even beyond its own rather militaristic standards. Donald Trump is unhinged, and the American system is unhinged right now. It demands unconditional surrender of Iran. It says that Donald Trump will choose the next leader. These are invitations to World War III, I'm sorry to say.
Incredibly disturbing. And we did hear from Beijing about the importance of international law and multilateralism. To your point, with the Middle East in flames, surely the very concept of international law is in tatters. Can it be repaired?
Almost all countries in the world believe in international law. The United States and Israel do not. Again, grim reality. The U.S. has said openly that it is completely disdainful of the UN, that the UN is worthless, that it is useless, that it is international law is a nicety. This is the language of pure imperialism. This is not the language of international cooperation. It is not the language that China and most of the world subscribe to. So when Foreign Minister Wang Yi speaks, he resonates with almost all of the world. But the United States absolutely is not listening right now. And while China is, of course, taking the path of peace, the United States is choosing the path of war, and it is aiming to destroy the UN, I'm sorry to say, in countless ways. It has left dozens of UN organizations and treaties. It doesn't pay its bills. It ignores completely international law. It disdains the UN Security Council. It votes against the rest of the world in the UN General Assembly. This is the reality of the United States today. And Donald Trump revels in it, revels in what he asserts is his unilateral power to change the world.
A sobering message, Professor Sachs. Thank you very much indeed for your insights. As ever, we're very grateful. Jeffrey Sachs, a public policy analyst, former senior advisor to the United Nations.
Nous la condamnons dans toutes les instances.
Former French Prime Minister says France should sanction Israel and call out U.S. for Iran war. Why can't CNN get this guy on? I wonder why. Perhaps there's a reason why CNN doesn't have people like myself on either. Let's be real, okay? And they probably will in the near future, because like there is an appetite for it, right? There's an appetite for this kind of information. It's clear that people want to hear it, and they do have they do have to listen to market demands to a certain degree. Uncle Sam is going to be on CNN later today, which is cool. It's cool to see. Hold on. I'm like doing flotilla shit. Okay. Not with the merger. I mean, pre-merger, maybe there'll be instances, you know. NATO air defenses intercepted a missile heading for Turkey. This is the second interception that has resulted in debris falling over Turkey since March 4th, by the way. That also happened earlier today.
International, et nous en tirons les conséquences. Nous sanctionnons. Nous sanctionnons Israël pour être en train aujourd'hui d'enclencher une situation humanitaire tragique au Moyen-Orient. Nous pouvons prendre des mesures. Vous savez, on dit toujours, nous sommes dépendants. Oui, nous sommes dépendants pour les moyens de paiement. Nous sommes dépendants pour la guerre.
David Penn, the right-wing man, like by left-wing people. Be careful, this guy is a right-wing guy that just sees a Wintel. Oui. I will take le support anywhere I can get it. Okay, the French are coming. Flotilla, read my logs. What? Yes, sanctions le state.
numérique, mais les Américains sont très dépendants de nous aussi. Ne sous-estimons pas nos capacités.
Mais est-ce que justement,
et donc je crois que le simple fait d'avoir un Conseil exceptionnel des Européens réunis, avec un discours martial, 10 ans aux États-Unis et 10 ans à Donald Trump. Monsieur le Président des États-Unis, vous faites n'importe quoi. Aujourd'hui, vous nourrissez la guerre. Aujourd'hui, vous déstabilisez l'Europe. Vous déstabilisez les régions du monde. Et nous ne vous accompagnerons plus dans cette aventure. Et pour en tirer les conclusions,
let us draw conclusions from this. Let us stop buying F-35. Let us stop imagining. Let us stop imagining that the United States
que les États-Unis seront là
will be there to help out in Ukraine.
Que vous énoncez là.
Mais c'est bien pour ça que je dis
That
qu'on
is
a besoin de la France.
precisely I say we need France. I know all of that.
En 2003,
but in 2003, the vast majority of Europeans were not on our side either, but the people of the entire world were with us. And that is why we must be able to strengthen the legitimacy of our worlds, and as the disaster unfolds, I am telling you, well, in the end, Europeans might have a chance to open their eyes, stop going to the Oval Office, begging Donald Trump to grant them this or that.
Ceci ou cela. Donc, dire
to say clearly to the United States
clairement aux États-Unis que leur guerre
that their war is illegal,
qu'elle est illégitime,
that it is illegitimate, that it is ineffective,
qu'elle est dangereuse,
and that it is dangerous.
Dans la bouche de Monsieur
Just that coming from Mr. Macron. Well, excuse me, excusez-moi.
Ça ferait du bien aux Français, ça ferait du bien aux
It
Européens,
would do the
ça ferait
French
du bien à tous les
good.
peuples
It
du
would
monde.
do Europe
Et
good. It would do people of all world good. And what's more, it would be true.
Ce serait vrai. Avertir ce que nous avons fait en 2003,
Is Trump
les
live
Américains,
yet?
de ce qu'ils sont en train de semer le désordre, de semer le malheur.
And the misery.
Partout.
Yeah, he's just saying what we're all fucking feeling. All right, Donald Trump, Congressional Institute, dancing in front of Republicans. Trump speaks to Republicans as the Iran war sends oil prices soaring. Let's take a look. Oh, he's gonna do the victory dance, dude. It's fucking awesome. He's gonna say the Iranian Navy is destroyed. He's gonna say the Iranian Air Force is destroyed. Meanwhile, the Iranian Air Force is like already incredibly fucking limited, and they have like weapons that we basically retired, fighter jets that we retired in the 80s, and that's their Air Force, right? This is the mission accomplished banner that they're going to unfold right here. The Iranian Navy is also irrelevant when it comes to like, working the Strait of Hormuz. They have the go-fast boats that they use, and those boats are fine.
Just everybody. Thank you very much. And to our great speaker, Speaker Johnson. And hello to the men and women of one of the most consequential Republican majorities in history. It's not a big majority, but it's just about the most consequential. The job you've done is incredible. And they are members that are warriors and really people that are for the American people, and that's why you're doing well, and I think that's why we're going to continue to do well. We're fighting a little tradition, you know, historically the person that
This is in the
wins
press
Democrat
conference, by the way, this press conference
or
after this,
Republican
we'll probably
wins the
talk more about domestic
presidency.
policy.
For whatever reason, it doesn't work out, but we've done a lot. I don't know, I think we had the best first year of any president ever, and that includes you. Because you came along with me and you made it happen. So with your help and hard work, we're making America great again, and we're doing it much faster than we thought, and it's better, stronger, and our country is doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good. Short-term. Short-term. Thank you. They're great. You know, we all together, in my first term, we rebuilt our military. And I didn't know I'd be using it so much in the second term, but we have a military like no other, is not even close. But I especially want to recognize the rest of our amazing House Republican leadership team and so many of my friends that are congressmen, some senators. We have some great people in this room, but including Majority Leader, a real brave guy, because I know the real story. I was there that night with him in the hospital. when he was given a very small chance of living by a doctor who was very good, by a wife who was desperately in love with him. She cried so much. Because I've seen the other two. I've seen guys at the end of the line, the wives aren't exactly shaken up. When they don't cry, when they have no tears or any sign of tears, this is not a good sign of a great marriage. But he must have a great marriage, because she was just devastated. She was going to lose her guy. But it worked out that the doctor said more blood was put into him than he's ever seen. He was in big trouble. I looked at him that night and I said goodbye to him, but he made it. He was brave, and look at the way he fought back from so many different things. Steve Scalise.
Has to piss into a colostomy bag for the rest of his life, by the way.
Another one, Tom Emmer, who I really got to know over the last few years, and I'll tell you, he's a winner.
Mr. Empathy over here. What a way with words. Once again, talking about Steve Scalise, guy who got shot in his butt and penis at the congressional baseball game.
But Tom is just a real champion and a winner, and you have a problem, you go to him, he gets it solved. So thank you very much. Great job. You've done a great job. And our conference chairwoman is Lisa McLean, and we all know Lisa. Don't get on her wrong side.
Oh, sorry, that's not a colostomy bag.
Experience. Thank you very much. Great job, Lisa. Great job. And a very special thanks. You know, you broke a record. This is over 20 million. This is it's the biggest of these type of events that there's ever been by a lot. You know, you didn't just break it, you broke it by a lot. So I want to congratulate you. But there's just great spirit. The Republican Party has fantastic spirit. The level, I don't think, has been seen before. I really don't. We have to get a couple of people on board, which, you know, at least one case is virtually impossible. I wonder who that might be. A sick person. But I want to say a very special thanks to everyone at the Congressional Institute for helping organize this event. This has been amazing. And over the past 9 days, we've been reminded of how vital our Republican majorities are. And it's, you know, it's America's future. We're really fighting because these people, you saw the other night at the State of the Union, you saw these people. They wouldn't stand for a mother who just lost her daughter by having her throat slit from behind. They wouldn't stand for a helicopter pilot who just got the Congressional Medal of Honor for landing safely.
Fucking washed. Oh my God.
Helicopter with a lot of
He's still doing the Democrats wouldn't stand up for the things.
Helicopter, and he was able to land it safely, and
his leg was
practically ripped off.
This is
for those people that
I will tell you this much. This is for the dumbest of the cattle. Okay, the ones that are leading the pack into the slaughterhouse. Like, at this point, who the fuck cares about the Democrats not standing up? You know what I mean?
Down the aisle.
Completely
Which didn't make
ridiculous.
all of those soldiers in the back feel too good. They're looking at a pilot who's bleeding out. But they didn't want to stand for that. They didn't want to stand for a 100-year-old soldier who had left a legacy of bravery. Everybody talked about it for years, and it was time for him to get the Congressional Medal of Honor. They didn't want to stand for him. There's something wrong with those people, and we can't let them ever be in a position where they can lead this country again or destroy this country again, because we almost lost this country. This country was close to being lost. The representatives in this room provided the pivotal votes in securing a record $1 trillion for the United States military this year, and now the world is witnessing the importance of that investment with one of the most complex and stunning operations ever conducted, and that's Operation Epic Fury. That's a great name, isn't it? Epic Fury. That's even better than Midnight Hammer, which was pretty good too, right? That was where we knocked out their nuclear potential. That was a big day, because if we didn't do that, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks. And I think we'd be in a lot different situation. And then you had, of course, what they did in Venezuela, how that was just so far so good. We've done a real job. We've got all good ones. If you go back and you look at Afghanistan with Biden, one of the worst, I think the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. If you look at what happened with Jimmy Carter, with
Operation
Iran,
Epic Fortnite
but if you look
Chungus,
at what
Epstein's
happened with the
Fury.
helicopters and
That's right.
the hostages, it cost them the election. It was what a mess. The world respects us right now more than they have ever respected us before.
That's
and because of
complete and
Republicans,
utter
you people in
delusion.
Congress, the United States has by far the strongest and most powerful military on the face of the earth. We're the strongest military anywhere on the earth, and now everybody understands it. Together with our Israeli partners, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. Iran's drone and missile capability is being utterly demolished. The Navy is gone. It's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it?
I called it, remember?
In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, what quality of ship? Excellent, sir. Top of the line. I said, why didn't we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them? They said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, they like sinking them better. They say it's safer to sink them. I guess it's probably true. But think of it, we knocked out 46, and actually took 3.5 days. Their terrorist leaders are gone. We're counting down the minutes until they will be gone. Think of it, we had leaders, and they're gone. Then we had new leaders, and they're gone. And now nobody has any idea who the people are that are going to be the head of the country, and will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. And remember, Iran did so many bad things. They were really, if you look at Soleimani, who was taken out, as you know that, but you know who. But if you look at Soleimani, the father of the roadside, you call it a roadside bomb because most people don't understand the different
That's
terms.
so fucking, oh my God, that's so
as you
dumb.
drive by, happily drive by, the bomb goes off, and no matter how strong the armament, it just kills the people. Or you lose your arms, legs, and face. And those bombs got worse and worse, and he got happier and happier, and we took him out. That was a big thing because he was the head. It might have been a much different.
Soleimani, listen, Qasem Soleimani was literally the #1 killer of the people who were putting those roadside bombs. Okay? And was in direct contact with the American military virtually the entire time throughout the global war on terror. Like, when we talk about the Iranian intervention in the region, okay, Syria is different. But as far as like Iraq goes, like the IRGC forces were quite literally, working in tandem with the American forces.
For the most part, a lot of the fallen, the warriors.
I think he's talking about the Iraqi insurgency, which used IEDs pre-ISIS. It doesn't matter.
War, they seem to
even
pre, they come home to Dover.
Even before then,
Dover does a great job.
Like the Iranian government quite literally sent mourning. They were mourning the loss after 9/11. They were shocked when the American government decided to put Iran in the axis of evil. They were like, "What the fuck, axis of evil, bitch? The people that did this to you are our ops, our main ops in the region." They were like, Saudi Arabia is right there. They're the ones who did it. What the fuck are you doing? And then America was like, no, you're the reason. You're the enemy, actually.
But we haven't won enough. We go forward more determined than ever to achieve ultimate victory that will end this long-running danger once and for all. 47 years. It should have been done a long time ago. The world would have been a different place had some president had the courage to go and do it. They should have done it many, many times. They had many opportunities. The United States of America is the greatest and most exceptional nation in human history and will not be threatened by evil terrorists and lunatics any longer. We just can't do that. And, you know, when I always talk about how great our nation is, I don't know. I don't consider our nation very great for 4 years under Biden. We were a laughingstock all over the world. We were a laughingstock. So, you know, I say great, 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 but I don't know. When you look at what happened with so many different things, the open border, 25 million people, many of them very bad people, pouring into our country with open borders that just said, come on in, makes no difference. They emptied their jails into our country. 11,888 murders, 50% of which murdered more than one person. The drug dealers came in, the mentally insane came in, they emptied their mental institutions, they emptied their insane asylum. That's a step above a mental institution. They emptied them all right into our country.
None of this is real.
And
I don't
we've done
even
a
know
great
where
job
to
of-
begin. Like, I want to do like a Daniel Dale debunking, but like
Brad,
I
we have
can't
the
even do a
lowest
fucking
murder rate
debunking
in
because
100
every single thing he's saying is a lie.
We're saddled with all of the problems of the criminals that were let in. You know, look, there's smart
My
people.
favorite
I
type
know
of
the
Trump
people
lie
that-
is when he's also projecting like shit that we have done, like in El Salvador, where we literally did empty out our prisons of the MS-13 gang members without telling the Salvadoran government. Like, we did do that to them. So it's always funny when they go, oh, and they're emptying out their prisons. Like, no, we did that actually. We literally did do that. That was a part of American foreign policy back in the day. And it's so crazy that they just fucking hit this line over and over again, like, oh, they're emptying out their insane asylums.
Parts of South America, Asia, they sent in their
Asylum seekers are a lie.
murderers.
You're misleading your audience. Oh my God, the dumb cattle unironically believe that insane. Oh no, you're 24-month subscriber. You're a fucking idiot. Okay, there's no way. Asylum seeking is a legal application to seek asylum on U.S. soil. It doesn't mean literally these guys are coming from insane asylums. Please stop memeing like this. Oh my
Already at
God.
home. And you're going through it right now, fellas. I mean, you're going through, it's not even believable. You know, we should be very safe right now, especially when we're attacking somebody that's evil, bad intention. But last week, 53 House Democrats voted against a resolution affirming that Iran remains the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Who the hell would do that? I mean, almost every act, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah, no matter what, you take a look, it's Iran or Iran sponsored. And even more outrageously, as we speak, Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security. They've got it shut down. Do you believe it? Right now. Because they care more about amnesty for illegal alien criminals than about protecting the lives of American citizens. I mean, take a look at it. The American citizen is
I
being
watched
scoffed
another Jeffrey Sachs interview.
by Democrats.
How the fuck do I get Jeffrey Sachs on the
It doesn't
broadcast,
make
by the way,
sense.
chatters?
None of this stuff.
Chatters, I want Jeffrey Sachs on the broadcast. I want him.
And they wouldn't
How do we
stand
do
up
that?
for
Any of you, his
for
students at
incredible
Columbia?
people. They just refuse to clap, stand up.
None
By
of the
end
big
of the
three
speech,
networks
by the way,
are
they were all
airing
standing
this?
because somebody was passing them. No, you people are getting killed tonight. They were all they'd stand up for everything I was
doesn't
saying.
matter.
At the
We're
end of the last
airing it,
half
and
hour,
we're
they
bigger
were
than the big
standing up
three.
for things that they shouldn't have stood up for because they got the word. You're getting killed tonight. Stand up and clap for the woman that just lost her daughter, please, to a violent criminal. But Democrats must vote immediately to reopen the Department of Homeland Security so that we have the resources to keep America safe.
Yeah, I asked my goat, Kyle the King
And under our
Kalinske.
pro-America, pro-worker, pro-family agenda, our country is winning again and America is respected again. And I think we have a country that's as hot as it's ever been, ever before, maybe hotter. And I say it all the time. The king of Saudi Arabia said it to me.
That's
better
not
than
actually
anybody
Jeffrey
could say it.
Sachs.
He said, you know, I get along with him very well, very smart person.
That's
He
not.
said, you know,
this is not
a year
actually
and a
Jeffrey
half ago,
Sachs.
Your country was dead. Absolutely dead. We never thought
This
it was
is
coming
a
back.
fucking reactionary
And now you have
Jeffrey
the
Sachs.
hottest
Totally
country
different and
anywhere in the
annoying
world.
as
It's
fuck.
true. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, by far. And that's before we showed off our military strength with Venezuela and now with Iran. You know, Iran was supposed
He also
to be
is a
this big,
professor, but is a
powerful
different
country.
Jeffrey Sachs, and he
We wrapped
sucks.
the hell out of them.
I've been duped by that
And,
too.
you know-
I was in the past. I've seen like some bullshit that he has said where I was like, "Damn, what the fuck?" Jeffrey Sachs is like that, but no.
Left. In our country, inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising. The economy is surging. Our border is the most secure.
The problem with
at any
Sachs is
time
he's
in
too
American
forgiving with Russia
history.
in terms of the invasion
And
of
the murder
Ukraine.
rate is
Okay,
the lowest
dude.
in 125 years. That's before my father was born. My father was born 6 years later than that. I don't know if he'd like me
he's
to say
bad on
that.
Syria
Never
too,
liked
right?
to talk about his age. He said, don't talk about
I've heard
that.
it all.
But think about 125 years ago, 1900, the year 1900, the stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election, and it's going to go a lot higher as soon as we get rid of this stuff that we're doing right now, that we really had no choice. I mean, I asked people, I said, would you rather do this or would you rather go along nice and smoothly, but eventually have a catastrophe the likes of which perhaps the world has never seen? And just about everybody says, except for lunatics, said, no, you had to get it done. Should have been done a long time ago. The average 401k is up almost $35,000. Think of that. It's at the best they've ever done. And I think you're going to see some real numbers when this gets, because this was always a dark cloud hanging over not only Israel, which was going to get wiped out. You know, if we didn't do that B-2 attack, Israel would have been wiped out. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks after that. And even now, I think they were looking to take over the Middle East, because when you look, and we have pretty good proof, all of those missiles that were so stupidly aimed at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, they were all aimed, and others, at countries that were sort of like,
kind of feels like they weren't so stupidly aimed there,
right.
it seems, right? Because
sort of neutral, but they weren't doing it. All of a sudden, they're getting hit with missiles, and they could have gone.
I love that this is like day one. This is day one memes for the record. This is literally, this is what they were going with the first day. This is like what Jon Stewart was saying. Oh, how dumb of Iran to hit American military bases in the region.
And if we not...
How dumb of Iran to hit CIA assets in the region. How dumb of Iran to try to neutralize Mossad agents in the region.
Because I see the Democrats trying to justify it, and they're failing because the voter on the street is saying it.
Yeah, this was also funny. Thank you, CENTCOM, for admitting that you're using our neighbor's territory to deploy HIMARS systems against our people, apparently, including a desalination plant.
Within a week, if they were going to attack us, 100%. They were ready. They had all these missiles, far more than anyone thought, and they were going to attack us. But they were going to attack all of the Middle East and Israel, and if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it on Israel. And this was going to be a major attack. And they had all of those missile sites and all those launchers that we got rid of, about 80% of them right now, by the way. Got rid of most of the, it's died down to a trickle. They have very few launchers left. What our military has done is amazing. They wiped out almost 20%, maybe 22, 23%, but the rest are going very quickly. And the missiles have been largely knocked out. The drones have been knocked down, and we're hitting where they make the drones. We know them all, and we're knocking the hell out of that now where they manufacture the drones. A lot of work, a lot of brilliant work, but we're going to have a much safer world as soon as it's finished. It's going to be finished pretty quickly. With the help of our House Republican majority, we passed the largest tax cuts in American history, and we have to be talking about it.
Donald Trump is making up for the fentanyl gap with an unlimited amount of copium. He's offering so much copium that you can smoke. Everyone in the room is overdosing on it. Okay, they're gagging on it. They're overdosing on it.
Nobody ever talks about, Tom, and we have to talk about it. We made interest on auto loans fully deductible. That's never happened. We've never had that. Rich people always get deductions, but middle-income people, people that have to struggle a little bit, never did. But now they can deduct the interest paid against their taxes. We have one little proviso, and I put this on, it's very important, only if the car is made in America, all right? That's going to have a huge impact. That's going to have a huge impact. We passed the Trump accounts to give every child in America a head start on the American dream, and that's so good. It was...
We're going to wipe out your future, but you will be able to do stock trading at the age of 7.
$6,250 million. Think of it. Started with very little, nothing.
Started from the bottom, now we're here, also in the bottom.
And he said, yeah, people started liking them better than the ones from the store. And he never stopped. And he can write a check for $6,250 million. He said, and his incredible wife, Susan, they said that's the best thing they've ever done.
I love sucking off billionaires.
Got to do more.
Billionaires are your salvation. They're good people. They're good
A
people.
lot of people that aren't so rich are
You
doing it.
shouldn't
They're
bring
doing
out
it for
the
their kids, but
pitchforks.
it's turning out so.
It's so
Young
good.
child turns 18 or 21, and all of a sudden they have $100,000 in the bank. What a difference that is between having that and having nothing. And it could be more than that. Could be
What
a
he
lot
said
more,
so
depending
far is
on
one
what happens
contradiction
with the world.
after another.
And we passed one.
Trump so far, war will be a short-term excursion. War will continue until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. War, we already won in many ways. We haven't won enough. We go forward more determined than ever to achieve ultimate victory. Like, at some point, Americans have to cope with the reality that the person that's leading the country is genuinely a fucking baboon. Okay? I mean, many Americans are already aware of it, especially when it comes to, like, you know, domestic concerns where they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? The prices are not down at all, you son of a bitch, right? But, like, you have to realize every single thing that he says is not only a lie, but is directly at odds with the thing that he said prior. This is a nation run by a pedophilic baboon, okay? It sucks, but it's the truth. He will continue to reiterate points that are directly in contradiction to the point that came prior to it. Over and over again. It doesn't even matter, though, because his base eats that shit up. His base has developed this incredible appetite for misinformation. It is genuinely alarming, where they will go, war is over in a matter of moments. They'll go, hell yeah, war is over, mission accomplished. And then he will follow that up by saying, and we will continue the war for an endless amount of time until there is a decisive victory. And they go, yeah, we'll continue the war. In a matter of moments, they hear the words come out of his mouth, and immediately they swap their position. They do not recognize the contradictions. They do not recognize anything. They're just like, I believe you, sir.
Was the problem, but we're really bringing down prices big. Do you notice you don't hear that word anymore, Mike? They don't say it anymore because we've brought down prices so much. So our message is simple.
Saying
Democrats
that right
created
now
the high
is
prices,
fucking
and
amazing.
our policies are totally ending them, and they're ended, and we're doing better. We're even bringing them down further. They'll be way down, and we're...
Yeah, these are the same people that say, we're not cattle. Don't be sheep. Don't be sheep, brother. I'm an independent thinker.
I think it's 2.5 months, 1.7% inflation. 3 months, 1.45% inflation. Think of that. Whereas they had the highest inflation in the history, the single highest inflation in the history of our country. Now, you know, I always say this. They say 48 years because I don't want the fake news to get me on this. They say it wasn't history. It was 48 years. That the inflation was the highest in 48 years. But I don't know, in some ways 48 years sounds even worse because it's very specific. Yeah. But they had the highest inflation probably in history, but in 48 years, we inherited that. One of the first targets must be the crushing healthcare. We have to crush and take over the healthcare situation, which we can do. For the first time, we can do it since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act.
Socialized
Big
medicine.
insurance companies have gotten rich. They've made money like practically no other companies have made, with our government giving them hundreds of billions of dollars, and their stock prices soaring to up to 1,700%, 1,000%, 1,200%, 1,600%, and even 1,700%. The government gave them essentially trillions of dollars. And I want that money to be paid to the person, not to the insurance company, and let them go out and buy their own health care. And people love it. People love it. You'll get better health care at a much lower cost, and they'll be sort of part of the system. But the money we spend is so much. We spend numbers that nobody could even believe. But the healthcare companies, because the Democrats are owned by the insurance companies, remember that. And so they have a problem. That's why it's hard to get it fixed, because they are totally owned and controlled by the by the insurance companies. Healthcare insurance, but the insurance companies themselves. So when you want to do something that's good for the people but bad for the insurance companies, it's very, very hard for them to go in a different way. Now, Republicans never do that kind of thing, right? You're owned by nobody, right? Nobody. See, a young girl up here say yes. Some of them are a little bit shaky, but they're Republicans. We love them. We love them anyway, right, Mike? But they are owned by those big, powerful insurance companies that are making a fortune, and it's hard to get them to do the right thing. They know what the right thing is. So we want the money to be paid directly to the people and let the people go out and buy their own health care, and people love it. They love it. We can own the issue. For the first time ever, Republicans can own that issue. I'm also asking you to take swift action to codify my most favored nation policy on drug prices, the biggest. That alone should win the midterms. We have, and I tell this story all the time, my first term, third year, I actually had a slight, it was 1/4% decline in drug price. First time in 28 years. I was so proud. I went home, told our great First Lady, who's now a movie star, I got the biggest, can you believe this? That movie was hot, and it is hot. She became a movie star. It was a good movie. But I went home and I said, you know, it's amazing. We do so well, we work so hard. This issue is the single biggest issue. Okay. I had a news conference, I'm embarrassed to say.
Okay.
Long time ago, my first term.
Third
year.
He admitted.
Because I went up.
He admitted he was the shadow
to
leader.
a level that I did things that nobody's
Brandon
ever done.
fucking
28
stole it.
years, I brought it down 1/4%. Now I brought it down 80%, 90%, 75%, depending
the
way on,
squares are the
it's
teleprompters,
driving the
chatter.
fake news crazy because I say 400%, 500%, 600, depending on the way you want to talk about it, if you want to talk about pricing. But using a conservative number, what we've done is we paid the highest price for drugs anywhere in the world, and now we pay the lowest price for drugs anywhere in the world. We are tied for the lowest price. Whoever has the lowest price, that's what we pay. And I did that through tariffs. We had a little disappointing decision, to put it mildly, from the Supreme Court. Terrible decision for the people, but the good news is I have lots of other ways of doing the same thing. I just have to work a little harder. They want me to work harder, but we're doing the same thing with a lot of work. But I used tariffs to get this because I went to other countries. The drug companies were not easy, but I got them. And I said, we're not paying. We were paying for a pill $130 that in London and Germany and different places you'd pay $10. So we were paying 13 times more. They're paying $10, we're paying $130. And the drug companies, I called them in. We had a rough time, but it wasn't that bad. And they agreed because they knew that I couldn't get the countries. You had to get the countries to approve it. And I called up, and you've heard me say this a couple of times, not often, but I called the countries up. I called up France. I said, Emmanuel, you have to cut your good friends from America a reasonable deal. What's happening is you are paying a tiny fraction for drugs. No, Donald, I cannot do anything about that. I said, you can. He said, no, I will not do it. I will not do it. Because he'd have to raise his pill from $10 to $20 and maybe even $30. Ours would come down from $13, $130 down to $20. Think of that.
Emmanuel.
From $130. That's what you're going to get. From $130 to $20.
Daniel Dale is debunking.
But he has to double his price from $10, and they were the boss. I said, no, you will. No, Donald, I cannot do that.
Try to find wind
farms in China. And I heard this from all
China.
the other countries, too. Very elegant people. And they were saying, no, we
You can't find them. They're everywhere. It's so windy.
Yes, you will, 100%. No, we will not. Because, they have to double up their prices. And I said, well, here's the story. If you don't do it, I'm going to put, in the case of Emmanuel, I said a 100% tariff on all wines and champagnes coming into the United States. No, Donald, you cannot do that. I said, I've already got the legislation.
No,
it's right
Donald.
in front of my desk. I'm going to sign it.
So fucking stupid.
Emmanuel, he said, Donald, I will agree to this. So he agreed. Everybody agreed. I got every country to agree. And now you've done something that no other president could have done. No, I don't want to brag. But, they've said this about a lot of things. No other president could do some of this shit I'm doing. No other president. The things I'm doing, nobody else was going to do it. They say it all the time, sir, could you do this? You're the only one can do it. But we got it done, and we got the countries to all go along. Because I said, if you don't do it, I'm going to raise your tariffs to 200%, to 150%, and that's 10 times more than I'm asking for. And every single one, if it took me 5 minutes, that was like a long time. I was doing badly with that one. So now we have most favored nation pricing into permanent law, and you should codify it. But I don't care that much about codifying it, because what politician is going to agree to increase drug prices by 500%, okay? So, but it's still good to have it codified. Don't you agree? You know, they're saying, sir, we have to codify it. I said, that's okay, but I'm not. Other things you should codify. That I can tell you. This one, you should codify, because you want to take credit for it. You want to take credit for it. So if you can, please codify it. Get out there and codify. You're getting an 80%, 85%, 55%, 70% reduction in drug prices. Codify it. But if you don't, no president's going to raise it, in my opinion. Although they are crazy, you know, these people are crazy. They could find a way. You better get it codified. And as we work to bring down interest rates so that more Americans afford a house, I'm also asking you to ban the Wall Street firms, large Wall Street firms, institutional investors, from buying up thousands and thousands of single-family homes, hundreds of thousands of homes, because homes really are for people, not for hedge funds. We want to get the market out so they can do it, and we're stopping it. We want people to be able to buy a house. It's the American dream. Buying a house is a part of the American dream. And we must also stand up for the safety of our citizens. One of my guests at the State of the Union was Anya Zurutska, the mother of beautiful 23-year-old Ukrainian girl who was stabbed to death on a train in North Carolina by a deranged criminal, arrested more than a dozen times. And I had the mother, as you know, at the State of the Union, and she was devastated. Beautiful woman, devastated. Uncontrollably devastated. And
you're not going to believe this.
We couldn't get one Democrat.
I can believe
to
it.
Even clap. The Republicans.
I totally believe that. That's hilarious.
Not one Democrat in that whole room even thought about clapping. They sat there frozen-faced. Disgusting. House Republicans should get every member of Congress on record and pass a tough new crime bill that imposes harsh penalties for dangerous repeat offenders, which this nut was, cracks down on rogue judges and prosecutors, and ends no cash bail once and for all. No cash bail is a big part. I mean, you have a man murder somebody, and by that afternoon, he's out on bail. No cash bail. It's a huge problem. We also need to end deadly sanctuary cities, and you have bills before you now, and you're working on things, but hopefully you can do that, Mike, because it's terrible. They're sanctuary for criminals. That's all they are, sanctuary for criminals. They fight ICE all the time. That was the problem up in Minnesota. They had a lot of criminals in there. They wouldn't give it to us. And to stop illegal aliens who cannot even speak English from driving 18-wheel tractor trailers. They have no idea what they're reading. I wouldn't be able to do it in their countries. There's arrows, there's speed limits. They have no idea what they're reading. And in many cases, they're on drugs on top of that. We need to ban any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Have to do it. And I want to thank House Republicans for passing another common sense measure. I would think it's the easiest thing. I just told Mike. You know, you were at $19 million. I have to say this because I've never contributed. I was a huge contributor for years and years. Once I became president, I never contributed any money because the greatest thing about being president is I no longer have to contribute. Nobody ever asked me for money. They asked me for my endorsement. I've endorsed just about everybody in the room. But keep winning, right? Yeah. 124-0 this Tuesday. 124 wins, no losses. Is that good? And there were some rebels. We endorsed a few rebels, right? A few that Mike was saying, it's going to be a tough one. But we're 124-0. But as president, nobody ever asked me for money. And as president, you know, like as president, you sort of don't make campaign contributions. So it doesn't even. But I heard you were at $19 million today. I said, has that ever been done? No, sir, it's a record, but 20 would sound better, right, Mike?
Oh.
Yes. He said, I'm going to give you $1 million. It's the first time I've done that. I never did it before. I never did it before.
My neighbor is a senator from Movimiento Ciudadano, party here in Mexico City. Can get working them. I reached out to a Moreno.
I never did it
Claudia.
before.
Hell yeah, Chad.
Now I'll be hit up by every political group, every Republican running. Sir, can I have some? Give me a little cash. I'll have Emmer come up to me and say, how about a little cash for my campaign? I will no longer have the excuse that as president. Anyway, no, but we had to hit the 20, right? We had to hit the 20. That was a hell of a thing. You beat it by a lot. You beat the record, the previous record by a lot. But I want to thank House Republicans for passing another common sense measure. To me, the easiest of all, the Save America Act to protect our sacred American. Look at this. Look. It's the easiest thing we have. I can't, It's the easiest thing we have. Now, the problem is you call it the SAVE Act, and nobody knew what the hell the SAVE Act. Have you been seeing, I've been working overtime the last month.
The Irina Zaruska stuff never made sense to me because the guy had not been in prison or arrested for 5 years. It had nothing to do with bail or leniency or anything. I guess you could argue in favor of involuntary confinement, but also not everything is a policy failure. A mentally ill person hurting someone is something that just kind of happens sometimes. Even with better mental health care, it will occasionally happen. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because it was a black guy with a long criminal record killing a white lady. And not like that dynamic in and of itself is so revealing of what this propaganda serves. Because if you recall what Donald Trump said in the State of the Union, which the media didn't really cover all that much, that was crazy, is that although Irina was the migrant in this situation and Irina's killer was the American-born American citizen in this situation, he quite literally said this was another instance of migrant crime. Like, he straight up swapped the fucking roles and made it seem like it was an undocumented migrant that had killed an American citizen, because the entire anti-immigration narrative is built around white nativist sentiment. It's built around white supremacy. So even if the role reversal here is that it was an American citizen that killed a migrant, he's basically fucking saying that it was actually a migrant that killed an American citizen.
Must show the act. Voter ID. Ready? This is not complicated. Voter identification. Now, if, you know, I have a whole list, but I don't want to put, I have like hundreds of things on the list. If you go shopping, if you do this, if you buy a car, if you license a car, if you point to everything you need to have.
Guys, they did not kill they did not kill Benjamin Netanyahu, and I don't think Iran also killed Ben-Gvir either. There are, however, reports of such incidents, so we'll obviously wait to see if that's true or not. Okay,
mail-in
calm
ballots,
down.
except for illness, disability, military, or travel. Mail-in ballots are a disaster. Jimmy Carter, the best thing he ever did, he headed a commission after he was president. It was the single best thing, and he did a thing on mail-in ballots. He said mail-in ballots should not be allowed because they are inherently dishonest. And we have seen it time and time again, and we just keep going with it. And I put that down as a top three. Look, no mail-in. Now, you have the exceptions for the military, and I would even say foreign-based military. But for the
Trump
military,
and his team is manipulating the market. Yeah, the money is so fake. It's never been more fake.
If you're traveling, you know, you have an excuse. And I was lenient on that. But those three things. Then I added two more. These are best of, you know, best of. These are called best of Trump. We should also add on to this bill. And so what I've asked Mike to do is to draw a new one with these few things added. And let's go for the gold. Let's not just get one like voter ID, but, you know, it can be given to you by your daughter. You know, your daughter, she has to be of age, like above 6 years old, she's allowed to say. You had to see some of this stuff is so bad. They're doing everything possible because they know if we get this, they'll probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer. And they're going to fight like hell. But boy, do they get killed. Because even the Democrats, you saw the numbers today, Democrats voted 86% that this stuff should be passed. The Democrats. With Republicans, you're at 98%. But Democrats are at 86, except for the people that run the Democrat Party.
Wait, what did he say?
They want to try and win elections. They know if we get this, they'll probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer. And they're going to fight like hell. But boy, do they get killed. Because even the Democrats, you saw the numbers today, Democrats voted 86% that this stuff should be passed. The Democrats.
Oh, he
with
was
Republicans,
saying
you're
girls of age at 6 years old. Y'all are so dumb. Who cares? Okay, yeah, sure.
I say 95%, maybe 100%. No men in women's sports. Very simple. Add that in. And
yes, he's a pedophile.
And I wanted to add in one other. I'm not even adding in no open borders because, you know, there's some people that like open borders. These people are crazy, but that's okay. Because I want 5 things that are like close to 100%. No transgender mutilization surgery for our children.
Mutilization.
You can't have transgender
mutilization
for our children. So those 5 things. 5 things. Voter ID, citizenship, mail-in ballots, no mail-in ballots. Right? We don't want men playing in women's sports. That's got to be about close to 100%. We don't want men playing in women's sports and no transgender mutilation.
You're a Turkish American imperialist, buddy. Your true colors shine when you talk about Kurdistan. You said the Kurdish people commit atrocities. I did not say that. Buddy, what do you think your beloved Turkey does? You support Palestine relentlessly, but call us a U.S. puppet and say how we fall for it again. Weak ass shit, Hasan. The colonialism is truly in the blood of every Turk and American. Yes, you did. I said the Kurdish people commit atrocities? The fuck are you talking about? You absolutely watched someone bastardize my words. I'm sorry, I really had hope for you. Man, shut your bitch ass up, dumbass. Actually, you know what? I'm going to unban you. I'm going to play with my food a little bit more. Iran saw Trump's CBS quote. Iran's deputy foreign minister says the first condition for a ceasefire is to halt further attacks. It's so funny because, like, the Kurdish parties have literally come out and said, yeah, we're not going to fucking do the bidding of America this time. And this chatter is still yelling at me because I said the initial assessment, which was like Israeli reporting in general, was that the Kurdish militias were going to move into Iran and play a role in destabilizing the country at the behest of the CIA and Mossad, which is, once again, regardless of the understandable ambitions of Kurdish peoples in developing autonomous regions or developing Kurdistan, is totally at the behest of American empire. It's fucking ridiculous and it's idiotic because guess what? Americans are going to literally turn around. How come the last time you tweeted about the Kurds was 7 years ago? Just curious. Wait, what? That's also not true. I've tweeted about the Kurds quite a bit this past week. Again, complete bullshit. And it's also completely irrelevant because guess what? While my criticism of what the Kurds were willing to do was directly related to what the Israeli news media was claiming that they were going to do, that they were going to play a role in, it doesn't even fucking matter because guess what? The actual Kurdish troops are not on board with it, at least for the time being. Someone called in the Majority Report last week saying he was shown a clip of you claiming the Kurdish militias are agents of Israel from yesterday, then proceeded to explain the same assessment you had. Shocker. People must be clipping out of context. I know. Stop getting fucking duped with dumbass bullshit, dumbass chatters.
Save. It's the Save America Act. If you could send it up in full form, meaning just straight. We will, I think the Senate has to approve it. I really do. I think, and they're going to have to go the filibuster. And maybe it's going to be the talking filibuster like the old days. The great Jimmy Stewart, right? Remember the great movie, Jimmy Stewart? But they have to get it done, because if we don't get this done, I'm for, if it takes
Hasan
6
keeps whining
months,
about
I'm for
Erdogan like
not
he's a victim,
approving
bro.
anything.
Turkey's a sovereign nation. Stop acting
I'm for
like
not approving
we get a
anything.
say
I
in
don't think
every
we should
NATO
approve
move.
anything
Wait,
until
what?
this is approved.
Now there
And
are Turks in the chat that are mad at me because I'm too critical of Erdogan. Like, this is why it's so stupid, because the Turks get mad at me for shitting on Erdogan for what it does to the fucking Kurds, okay? And then the Kurds get mad at me because they don't hear me talk about Erdogan and what he does to the Kurds. And now the Turks are getting mad because they're saying like, oh, well, we have no sovereignty. What is Erdogan supposed to do? It's fantastic. All it does is just, pile on to the fucking misinformation. It's wonderful.
And this is an even bigger example. So if I could ask the people in this room to go for the gold. We're going for the gold. We're not going for the bronze. We're not going to sign a watered down version like has been sent up there. Let's go for the gold, and let's just not accept anything else. I'll tell you what, I'm willing to just sort of say I'm not going to sign anything until this is approved. I really am. That's how bad it is. And we're going to have to push the Senate, because you have 4 or 5 senators that are, I don't know, 4 or 5 Republican senators. You'll have to explain them to me, but we're not going to get into that. But we're going to push them to get it done, because I don't think you can politically exist if you're not going to do voter ID and these things. I don't think the people in this country will stand for it. So I'm making my biggest plea tonight. It'll make you, and I'm not doing it for this reason at all. It'll guarantee the midterms. It'll guarantee the midterms. If you don't get it, big trouble, my opinion. If you get this, your midterms, and they know it.
It's so funny that he's just like openly saying that we have to not do democracy. Like he's like, we can't have democracy. Obviously, it's completely fucked. We're completely fucked because I've ruined everything. So what we have to do is cheat. We have to just like make it as hard as possible for people to go out and be able to vote. That's the goal here. That's the overarching goal. That's the only consideration here. And it's awesome. He's openly saying it out loud to the Republicans that are listening to him. And if this was any other quote unquote regime overseas, we'd be covering it fucking endlessly. Okay? We'd be covering it endlessly. We'd be like, the Trump regime has openly stated that they are in favor of destabilizing the normal election process.
And their cheating was at an inspirational level. We can't let that ever happen again. And then they cheated again in the last election, but I went up. The term I used most was too big to rig. You got to go out, don't believe, because we had polls having us way up. I said, don't believe the polls, go out and vote. Make it too big to rig. And that's what happened. A couple of races they cheated on, they got away with it. A couple of Senate races, my opinion. But we have to make it too big to rig, and that's what we did. But we shouldn't have to win an election that way. You're going to have a hard time winning elections that way. So you got to get that passed. And if we fight, we will win, and we will make our country safer and stronger and richer and greater than it ever has been before. And I want to say, very importantly, because they would like you not to say this, because this is a terrible thing in their opinion to say, God bless you and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
And then he's going to do, dude, it's so funny. It's so awesome. He's going to do the press conference or announcement in a little bit after this, I think, in like a half an hour or something. You're just like Claudia Scheinbaum. Oh, is it the 6'7" video? Yeah, Claudia Scheinbaum, haha, 6'7". Mi tío en Jalisco.